Charles. Our next analytic geometry question deals with circles. In the final exams, it's plus minus 20 marks, ranging from plus minus 7 questions. Obviously ranging from easy of level 1 to level 4 question. The last question is generally a challenging question, but make sure that you get the first 4 to 5 questions. Well, there's two types of circles, or two circles that we're going to study. One is a circle whose center is at the origin. In other words, the center is 0, 0, and its equation is x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Just like the trick that we've learned to work out your x, y, and r. Please make a note of this because you may just get a circle whose center is at the origin. However, most exam question papers have circles whose center is not at the origin. So in this case, you have a center M, which is A and B. In this case, your equation of your circle is given by this formula here. X minus A all squared plus y minus b all squared is equal to r squared. Very, very, very important to remember. It's x minus y minus b. X minus a all squared plus y minus b all squared. You may just have a situation where m, the center, is minus 2 and minus 3 and has a radius of, let's say, 5. Then the equation of the circle would be x minus 2 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared is equal to 5 squared. So in this case, it will be x plus 2 all squared and y minus 3 all squared. Please make a note of that. Watch the negatives again. In analytic geometry, the negative coordinate seems to be a problem for many candidates and learners. Okay, let's look at some examples. Right, the first example that we're going to study, it's in your notes, is determine the equation of the circle with the center at the origin. Read the question carefully, and radius is 5. In other words, r is equal to 5. Remember, we want r squared. So in this case, the equation of a circle whose center is at the origin is x squared plus y squared is equal to r squared. Therefore, x squared plus y squared is equal to 5 squared. Therefore, the equation of the circle is x squared plus y squared equals 25. So that's the first part. Now, they want the second question. You determine the equation of the circle whose center is at the origin but passes through a point minus 2 and 4. So in this case, we use the same formula. However, in this case, we do not have the radius. However, we have 2 points, x and y, which is minus 2 and 4 respectively. Substitute. So it will be minus 2 all squared, what's the bracket, plus 4 all squared is equal to r squared, and therefore that will be 4 plus 16, and therefore r squared is 20. Therefore the equation of the circle is x squared plus y squared equals to 20. That's your radius squared. Always write down and underline, so when people who are marking your script will know that's your final answer, and then work backwards to award you other marks. Question number 2, interesting question, very busy question. So they gave you a point which is an unknown, so that's your x, which is b, and that's your y, which is minus 8. Is a point on the equation of the circle x squared plus y squared equals 17. First question, determine the possible values. So when you see that expression, then there may be two values for b. Okay, read the question carefully. Let's see how this is obtained. Then the second question, determine the x and y intercepts of the circle. And 3, find another integer value that lies on the circle. Bit of a challenging question. So let's go through it. Solution. So the equation of a circle is x squared plus y squared equals 17. B squared plus minus square root of b squared is equal to 17. Substituting the given point x and y. Therefore, b squared plus 8 is equal to 17. Watch this part. Many of you would make it minus 8. Remember, when you square a negative, it's positive. Use a calculator. If you're not sure, use a calculator. Is b squared plus 8 is equal to 17. Therefore, b squared is equal to 9. However, they want us to find the value of b. So when you find the square root of 9, then we'll get the values minus 3 and minus 3. Now there's a diagrammatic explanation of b being 3, minus 3, and b being 3. So those are the two possible values for b. Now they want us to find out the x and y intercept. Let's look at the next diagram. So to find the x and y intercept, it's pretty straightforward. Remember, at the x-intercept, y is equal to 0. So substitute 0. And at the same time, we can find the... So substitute 0 for your y for your x-intercept. Therefore, x squared is equal to 17. Therefore, x is equal to plus minus the square root of 17. So there are your two x-intercept. And if you watch your diagram, you can see it's quite clear in the diagram that you got your two x-intercept. That's your first one. That's your second one. Same situation for the y-intercept. But in this case, we're going to substitute x equals 0. And then you'll get y equals square root of 17 and y equals minus square root of 17. So those are your two x-intercept. However, you can get this answer by inspection because these are your radii. Can you see? And your radius is the square root of 17. Alright. Now they want us to find, it says find the two possible values for integer values for which the situation will give us an equation that lies on the circumference of the equation. So they said the square root of 17 is equal to 4.1231. So so let us substitute x equals 1, which is part of the domain. If you substitute x equals 1, remember the one integer value, and remember 1 squared is 1, and take it the other side will give you minus 1, and that's how you obtain a 16. And therefore, y is plus minus square root of 16, so y could be 4 or minus 4, and therefore the two possible values could be 1, which is 1 and 4, or minus 1 or 4. And we must check. It says If the first value you substitute does not produce an integer value, then continue substituting x values in the domain to produce another integer value. Highly unlikely you're going to get a question like this, but it's just good mental practice to understand how circles work. So your homework for today, and correction is straightforward. Let's do 1a, 1b, and in fact do all. Don't take it too long, and share the answers amongst your friends. Remember, the equation must be of this form because we're dealing with a circle whose center is at the origin. Read the question carefully or study the diagram carefully. So one of the issues is substitute, or maybe by inspection you can get the radii. Like for example, this one and this one, you can see you can determine the radii without substitution. These two you are required to substitute. Be careful, you've got some negative coordinates, so maybe just be a little bit careful in your calculation. So the next part deals with finding equations whose center is no longer the origin. Where it says the center of the circle is not the origin. And it's vitally important that you either read the question or check your diagram carefully to see which of the cases it may be. Question number 1, determine the coordinates of the center and the length of the radius of a circle in the following circles. Alright, so they gave you the equation. They want us to find the center. Now remember, earlier on we said that this is a general form of a circle. Oh, by the way, both these formulas appear on your formula sheet. Now, just some technical maths. Remember we spoke about additive inverse. So if I have a situation of the center being -2 and 3 like we did previously, then this would be x plus 3 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared. In other words, the opposite signs appear in the respective places. But however, for some of us who are a little bit maths challenged, I would recommend the following. You say x minus 4 equals 0, and this implies x is equal to 4, which is x of the center, and you would say y plus 3 equals 0. This implies y equals -3, which is the y of the center. Remember, watch the additive inverse. Therefore, the center will be 3 and -3. Let's see how they did it. So they write down the equation. They wrote it like this, which you don't need to, can be very confusing. Rather use this method here. This is an easier method to work it out. And therefore you get your center. And now, remember, we want to find the radii or the radius. Remember, this is r squared. Therefore, the center is straightforward. We worked out your r is equal to the square root of 18. Using your calculator is 3 square root of 2. Please make a note of this method. Very, very important and useful to remember. In other words, make your given equation, the x part equal to 0 and the y part equal to 0. Alright, this is a favorite for examiners, and what I omitted to tell you that the equation of the circle has two forms. X minus a all squared plus y minus b all is equal to r squared, or it could be in the form x squared plus y squared plus ax plus bx plus c equals 0. This is a very complicated general form. Let's see what they give us. It said determine the center and the radius of the circle if given this kind of quadratic-ish expression in x and y. Now can you see you've got x squared 1x squared minus something x plus y squared minus something y and a constant value. It's similar to that there, just rearranged. So what we need to do is separate the x expressions one side and the y expression one side and take the constant to the other side. Let's see what we're going to do. So we're going to now complete the square, grade 11 one. This is what they said. So separating the x expressions and then the y expression, take the number to the other side. Now you remember that when you complete in the square, you're going to have, let's say for example, that situation. When you multiply this out, it's going to be x minus 6x plus 9. So we now want to work the reverse case. Now, just one small observation. This part is always positive because you're squaring. How do you determine this? So you look at the number front of your x divided by 2. In this case, it's minus 3, and square it, and you'll get 9. So let's examine here. So we've got minus 8 divided by 2 is 4 all squared. I suspect I'm going to get 16 here. But I added a number. I'm not bored to change an expression. So if I added 16 here, I must add 16 here. Same thing here. I have minus 10y. Half of minus 10 is minus 5. All squared is 25. So I added 25 here. So I must add 25 here. So let's see what they do. So to complete the square, that's how they got the 16. And that's how they got the 25. And that's how they added 16 plus 25. In other words, to neutralize it. Now, what you've done is this is a perfect trinomial in x. This is a perfect trinomial in y. And this part here would be your radius. So to write the equation in the center radius form, in other words, in this form here, all we need to do is find the square root of that. It's x. And because you have a negative here, you'll always have a negative in your binomial. And the square root of 16 is 4. And you can see if you multiply it out and double check that you will get this expression. Same thing for y minus the square root of 25. And how did you get 100? 100 is the sum that they got here. So I now wrote it in the form x minus a all squared plus y minus b all squared is equal to r squared. And therefore the center additive inverse, once again, if you don't know, please, it does not take you too long to do that. For those who are finding maths a little difficult, rather do this. And then for the y minus 5 equals 0, y is equal to 5. So that's your center. Your radius is 10 because r squared is equal to 100. R is equal to the square root of 100, positive, and therefore it's equal to 10. Study this. This is an important method to remember for an exam. It does come out in an exam between 4 to 5 marks. Please, this is the one that I will practice. The third example is an easier one. And let's see what it entails. It says write down the equation of the circle whose center, so this is your A and B, is minus 1 and 3, and your radius is 3 square root of 5. Don't stress, we're going to use our calculator. Now it's a reversal. So I'm saying x is equal to minus 1, this implies x plus 1 is the expression that I need to be squared. Okay, just constantly use this kind of situation. I just erase that so that you get an idea of what I am saying. Don't square it now, but you get an idea basically what we're going to do. So it will be x plus 1 is the expression, and the other one, y equals 3, this implies y equals minus 3 is the other expression that I found, and that's exactly what they got here. It's much easier to do it this way than to do it this way. Okay, and that's how you obtain this x plus 1 all squared and y minus 3 all squared is equal to 12, because 2 square root of 3 all squared is equal to 12. Use your calculator, and that's the equation of the circle. Pretty interesting, pretty important. Please also make a note of this method, which many textbooks don't have. I would prefer this. It is a sure way of ensuring that you get your equation correct. Example number 4, we're moving on to a little bit challenging, typical question. So they gave you two things. They gave you the center, which is your A and B. So we learned from the last example how to rewrite and get that part. By now you know it's going to be x plus 1 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared. And you've got a point that lies on the circumference of the circle. So let's go through the method. So basically this is what the diagram should look like. You've got a center, and in this question you must get a diagram. They won't give you a question only in words. Okay, so let's go through the first part. So we know that the radius is MA, so we can either find the distance, but let's see another method. Therefore MA squared is equal to R squared. Okay, I would prefer you rather doing this. R squared is equal to x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared, directly from there, and then substitute your given point. So your point is A, which is minus 4 and minus 1. Substitute your x and y there. That's exactly what they have done here. So they substituted minus 1 and they substituted minus 3. Well, they kind of confused you here a little bit, but they did it. Here's the substitution here. Okay, but it's easier to do it here. And when you open it up, you get R squared equals 25, and therefore the equation of the circle is always in this form, and therefore the equation of the circle is that. A little bit complicated. I would prefer my method, because all you do is say R squared is equal to x squared plus 1 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared, substituting there. So R squared is equal to minus 4 plus 1 all squared plus minus 1 minus 3 all squared. Use your calculator. You know that's going to be 9. Use your calculator. You know that's going to be 16, and that gives you 25. Thereafter, you get your equation of your circle. Okay? Also very, very important. Please study this example twice before you do this. Look at which method you feel comfortable. Recommendation, this method that we wrote here. Practice makes perfect. Your homework for today is 1A, D, C. Let's just do 1 here. Let's choose 1 that's a little bit complicated. Let's choose B and 3. So you've got 1, A, C, D, that's B. And question 3. Question 3, watch the word touches. Touches means it's a tangent, and tangent means one point of intersection. One point, it touches at one point. Please remember something about vertical lines, what happens, and horizontal lines, what happens. A hint: in vertical lines, one of the two coordinates is the same. Horizontal line, one of the two coordinates is the same. You must check which one is the same. Go through your first video on the grade 11 analytic geometry. Remember, E is a y-intercept, therefore you know something about it. One of the coordinates immediately, it's a horizontal line. How do I know it's a horizontal line? It's perpendicular. Read the question carefully. It's perpendicular to the radius, which is a vertical line, therefore this has to be a horizontal line. Okay, read question. This is also a favorite one. The correction will follow first thing tomorrow morning. Okay, so that's the end of part 1. So I'm going to do this section in 3 parts. The second part, part 2, deals with equations of tangents. Very important, very interesting. This is where the majority of the marks will apply, and then thereafter part 3 would be examples. Part 3 is typical exam questions. Questions in exams. Type. Okay, once again, plus minus 20 marks. Please note that this section can also incorporate all other work that you've learned in grade 11. It is equal to x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared, directly from there, and then substitute your given point. So your point is A, which is minus 4 and minus 1. Substitute your x and y there. That's exactly what they have done here. So they substituted minus 1 and they substituted minus 3. Well, they kind of confused you here a little bit, but they did it. Here's the substitution here. Okay, but it's easier to do it here. And when you open it up, you get r squared equals 25, and therefore the equation of the circle is always in this form, and therefore the equation of the circle is that. A little bit complicated. I would prefer my method, because all you do is say r squared is equal to x squared plus 1 all squared plus y minus 3 all squared. Substituting there, so r squared is equal to minus 4 plus 1 all squared plus minus 3 minus 1 minus 3 all squared. Use your calculator, you know that's going to be 9. Use your calculator, you know that's going to be 16, and that gives you 25. Thereafter, you get your equation of your circle. Okay, also very, very important. Please study this example twice before you do this. Look at which method you feel comfortable. Recommendation, this method that we wrote here. Practice makes perfect. Your homework for today is 1A, D, C. Let's just do 1 here. Let's choose 1 that's a little bit complicated. Let's choose B and 3. So you've got 1, A, C, D, That's B. And question 3. Question 3, watch the word touches. Touches means it's a tangent. And tangent means one point of intersection. One point. It touches at one point. Please remember something about vertical lines. What happens? And horizontal lines. What happens? A hint. In vertical lines, one of the two coordinates is the same. Horizontal line, one of the two coordinates is the same. You must check which one is the same. Go through your first video on the grade 11 analytic geometry. Remember, E is a y-intercept, therefore you know something about it. One of the coordinates immediately. It's a horizontal line. How do I know it's a horizontal line? It's perpendicular. Read the question carefully. It's perpendicular to the radius, which is a vertical line. Therefore, this has to be a horizontal line. Okay? Read question. This is also a favorite one. The correction will follow first thing tomorrow morning. Okay, so that's the end of part 1. So I'm going to do this section in 3 parts. The second part, part 2, deals with equations of tangents. Very important, very interesting. This is where the majority of the marks will apply, and then thereafter part 3 would be examples. Part 3 is typical exam questions. Questions in exams. Type. Okay, once again, plus minus 20 marks. Please note that this section can also incorporate all other work that you've learned in grade 11. Thank you. Have a good day.